Hey everyone, welcome to another recap of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 8. This is episode 2 last night, and let's talk about it. Let's discuss what happened and who you liked, who I liked. I'm going to tell you all about it, so just sit back and wait for it. So, first of all, they had a new thing called the shade tree, and that's kind of interesting where somebody can go in and do a confessional right there on the spot because the ones we see are, I guess, filmed later from what I hear. But I was wondering, why is it so blurry? That I didn't quite understand. But anyway, I'm kind of interested to see what comes out of it. And Kimchi has been the first one to use it that we saw, and it was interesting to hear what she had to say. Then they had, by the way, a dance mini challenge. Right off the bat, I thought Cynthia and Chi Chi did the best, and actually, they're the ones who won. I also mentioned in my notes here that Acid Betty did well as Thorgy. That's gonna get me every time. So I wasn't surprised when Cynthia and Chi Chi won because that's who I picked to win, and they were the best in my opinion. Therefore, so anyway, they were the team captains. It was a singing challenge, but with lip sync, I should say. And Lucian Piani, I think is how you pronounce his name, was the one that helped put that together. And they had teams picked, and it was the shady bitches and the lady bitches. And Cynthia was the team captain for the lady bitches, which was Acid Bob, or no, I'm sorry, Bob the drag queen, not Acid Bob. Derek, Layla, Robbie, and Kimchi, along with Cynthia, of course. And Cece, or it's not Cece, Chi Chi has Acid Betty, Thorgy, Dax, and Naomi Smalls. So those were the two teams. This is based on the Pitch Perfect movie. I have not seen that, so I'm not real familiar with it, but I have an idea and I know what it's about a little. So that's what they were doing, and I have to say that, boy, those performances during the that we saw at the end of the show before the runway, those were really well done. I thought both teams did very well. It was long. It was actually quite a production. I mean, I was impressed, and Jamal Sims helped with the choreography as well as the groups themselves helped with the choreography, but he helped fine tune it and put it into better shape. Um, so yeah, I thought both groups did well. I thought there were some standouts. I think, for instance, Kim Chi worked very well with her limited abilities with dancing, but shined in characterization and with me being a theater person, that's something that I really appreciate. So also on the other team, I mean, Acid Betty did very well. Chi Chi did very well, and really Naomi I thought did well too. Thorgy, Dax, I've not been impressed with Dax since the very beginning with the Meet the Queens videos. Yes, Dax is pretty or beautiful at times, but lackluster is a good word that comes to mind. There's just not a lot of energy being shown in these first couple episodes. And as I said last week, she's not standing out. She was not standing out in these episodes. And so, what happened in the end was not too surprising that she was in the bottom two, but we'll get to that. Talking about Acid Betty for a minute, I think she lived up to her name in the rehearsals for this. She was very acidic, very harsh, and I thought unnecessarily bitchy and just not very likable. I don't quite understand it, but I think it's partially because she's on TV. That's partially part of her personality, as we're hearing from Thorgy, who's known her for 10 years and seems to be the Acid Betty authority. So we're hearing a lot of truth, and we're seeing it. So she's living up to that. But it's not very. It doesn't make her very appealing. So I kind of hope this not the whole time she's going to be like that. Because people saying, "Oh, Bianca Del Rio was bitchy and all." Yeah, but she was funny too. Very funny. There's a difference. This one's just plain bitchy. So far. But you know what? I like he has a lot of good looks, or she does, and also impeccable looks. Very not one note, which was what I was worried about. So that's good. I wanted to talk about Cynthia Fontaine. I like Cynthia, but she's one that I think I mentioned this last week that could get on your nerves quickly if she doesn't watch it. She's just a little overboard sometimes. She acts very weird, and I was really taken aback when she didn't even know the name of her group. You know, the Lady Bitches, when RuPaul asked her. So that was bizarre. But she seems like a really sweet person, and is a good possibility for Miss Congeniality. I think the way it's going. Thorgy is coming across very well. I think very positive, very helpful at times, and willing to, you know, give advice and give. I don't want to, like he said, he doesn't want to keep someone from going home, but he's helpful. I've heard people say he could be a Miss Congeniality. I don't know, but so far I think that's Cynthia. Chi Chi. I want to talk about Chi Chi because, in the Meet the Queens, I was not impressed with Chi Chi. I did not give her high ratings. But I will say that she's really impressed me in the first two episodes. And I thought she was a good group leader. It was difficult to deal with Acid Betty's personality and being a bitch. There's a good bitch and a bad bitch, and Acid Betty was being a bad bitch. So, yeah, I hope that doesn't continue. But Chi Chi is showing some real charm as just a person, and also I think has really good looks so far. Even though they are looks on a dime, so to speak, or a dollar. Kim Chi, Kim Chi is really coming across likable and endearing, and plus a huge talent as far as the makeup and the looks, and I did love his outfit on the runway there last night, and it was just really a nice look. Now, obviously, it's a certain kind of drag that not everyone's going to like. And I hope we see just some plain glamour drag from him at some point this season. That would be really nice. I know it's not him, and people don't like to, well, that's not me. Well, occasionally you need to do something else and try other things and not just be you. So I hope that he's not like some of those like Milk and others who didn't ever want to change and only wanted to do what they did typically. I want to talk about Leila. Layla really was struggling. You could tell in this episode, and especially having been in the bottom two last week, although he succeeded and got out of it. But I said last week that he's not ready for prime time, and I do believe that. I saw it again last night that compared to so many of those other queens that I've already mentioned, he just doesn't measure up, and not just in height, but you know I thought most of his looks that we've seen have looked very cheap and kind of like somebody going out for Halloween. I mean, literally, the look he had on the runway, I've seen better looks for Halloween that people put together themselves that aren't drag queens. And he's a drag queen. So, he seems like a sweet person as well, and he seems very sensitive about all this, but he just wasn't ready for this, and I thought it was he shouldn't have been on this show because he just wasn't up to snuff. So it's not surprising that he too ended up in the bottom as well. And I thought he did okay during the challenge itself with the two groups, but just not as good as other people. He's very much a background person at this point among these people, these other queens. And so if you can't shine through, you're not going to stay shining on this stage. I mean, it's as simple as that. And we've seen it time and time again. That brings me to Robbie, who had a much better week, much better look, and I think, thank God, he got to wear one of his own outfits and not something he made. I mean, one of his that he brought. because not everyone is a seamstress, and that's one thing I've always disliked about this show. Although I like this show so much and so much about it, is that the sewing challenge. This isn't Project Runway, and this isn't Project Seamstress. So some people don't know how to sew, and yeah, I guess they could take classes, but that's what does that have to do with being a drag queen? I just, you can get somebody else to make you a dress if you don't have one. So, but anyway, it is what it is. That is part of the show, so people need to know that. And unfortunately, the looks that Naisha and Robbie had created last week on episode 1 were pretty bad. Especially, I thought Robbie's. But anyway, this week much better, and he was sort of middle of the pack this week. Um, and then Naomi, I just want to mention one thing about Naomi because, a couple things, well, several things. One, as a boy, I think he's kind of cute. I think he's very young, but he's kind of cute. And he seems to be very tall. But when he does drag, I don't get this, flat chested, no boobs, and plus he's tall and skinny, so there's like nothing there. And I know in the first episode, Michelle actually complimented him on that, rocking the boy bod or the boy chest or whatever she said. Well, but she's the one that's always saying, this is a drag competition. Don't come out here looking like a boy. So which is it, Michelle? I mean, I don't enjoy that at all, and I find it lazy to not do that. Now, what I think, and I would be interested to hear what other people think, is just some of these younger drag queens, they don't that's just something they like is the sort of gender fuck or whatever they want to call it, where it's sort of a cross gender thing. And I guess that's part of the style, but I don't like it. I don't like it, and I'm never going to like it because I like glamour in drag. And, I appreciate other kinds of drag. That's the case. But when you come out like, I mean, that's something I always liked Angina as a person, but I never liked no wig and a bald head. Or if somebody had just worn their boy hair, and yeah, when they wear it and it's fixed up, it's a little different. I mean, women can have short hair, but yeah, the no boob thing, I don't like that. And even Acid Betty, I don't believe was wearing any falsies in that runway, but it was less noticeable. It was the dress kind of helped. Um, I think overall, this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it, and I think this season is kind of feeling back to normal after last season, which I don't want to say anything negative about last season. I think it was mostly the editing that cut things, and they didn't show enough of the people, and there was not much workroom time shown. But anyway, this season is back to what we were used to, I think. And even though there are a few less queens or a couple less queens than normal because of the shortened time frame due to All Stars 2 coming out later this season or this year, um, it's I like a lot of the queens are really memorable, and it's just doing better, I think. But I did like last season. I didn't think it was bad. Um, I mentioned already the bottom two were Leila and Dax, and that's who I wanted to be in the bottom two. So this week, RuPaul got it right. And I picked Chi Chi as the winner, and again, RuPaul and I agreed this week. So that doesn't happen that often, let me tell you. But this week it did, and so I was happy with that. Um, Now, during the actual lip sync, I thought it was interesting how right before that they had the judges talking at the judges table about, oh, this is an iconic gay song and blah 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 and all this, and I'm like, well, what's this leading up to? So they do the lip sync with just Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive," and I thought it was okay. Especially for Layla. Dax, I mean, just wasn't. I don't see any real life in Dax. There was a little bit there during the lip sync for Your Life, but I would have definitely sent Dax home. Possibly kept Layla if I was going to keep one of them. But I see, when I watched it again, several things I noticed was it seemed like it was just messy. They were messing around, and bumped into each other and do all this stuff, and it just looked messy. And also when Layla threw herself on the ground and was kind of thrashing around, I mean, it just seemed kind of, like, oh, what should I do? I'll throw myself on the ground. So it just didn't come across well. Now, I have to say, I was surprised when RuPaul decided to send them both home because I didn't think it was that bad. I've heard other people who disagree and who thought it was pretty bad. But yeah, I would have kept Layla if I kept one of the two. But like I said, I wished Layla had gone home the first week, and I think Naisha should have been saved because she has so much more potential. And speaking of which, the phone call, the big cliffhanger at the end. I mean, I would like to know who you guys think RuPaul was calling and who might be coming back or who might be coming that wasn't there yet. I've heard all kinds of theories, and I guess if I was going to suggest what I think is, well, I think it's either Naisha coming back, which I kind of doubt since she just left last episode. That would seem kind of weird. But I would be glad for that. I would love that because I think she deserved more time and she should not have gone home. I said that last week. But, so I would be happy, but I kind of don't think so. Um, I've heard the name Scarlet Starlet mentioned multiple times as the person RuPaul's calling and going to come on the show starting next week, I assume. I don't know anything about her except some pictures I've seen online, but we'll see. And I've heard that it could be a past queen from another season coming back, so who knows? I've heard everything from Alyssa Edwards to Lanacia Sparks. So I don't know, but I do know that somebody's coming back to this competition or coming in for the first time. So I am very interested to see, and I wish they would have told us because now we have to wait a whole nother week to find out who. I think, this is such a great show, and I've always been a big fan since season one. So I'm looking forward to next week, and we will be here, and I will recap it, and I hope you will be with me. So subscribe and keep watching, folks. Talk to you later.